First kind of thing that we need to vote on is a chair. Because of our online platform, we've not been able to properly elect the union chair as we'd hope. We do have somebody who wants to do it. Unfortunately, he's not here tonight. So are we all happy in his absence for me to be voted in as tonight's chair? Just pop your hands up or whatever, just so we can get a visual idea. Nice. Yeah. Brilliant. Raise the hands, so. Yeah. But yeah, so there we go. Chair's business is kind of our first thing for tonight. So attendees and apologies. There's plenty of you here. We're quorate, which is really, really nice, and means that, you know, any votes that we pass are well and good to go. Apologies, I think, have been sent to Jackie, those who have sent them. So that's all well and good. And so I think the first thing that we'll be getting into is the report from the BGSU Trustee Board, which is presented by Abraham. He couldn't make it here tonight, but he has sent us a trustee report for us. So I'll just scroll through this and you can hear him give his report.
Good evening, everyone. So my name is Abraham Hall. I was the student member of University Council, elected to serve a term in office on the BGSU Trustee Board 2020 to 2021. Matters covered over the year by the Trustee Board 2020 to 2021 were regular financial updates from the CEO, spending and budget approvals, year-end account sign-off that were then logged with the Charity Commission, updates to the SU strategy, support and approval of the SU's commercial operation, appointing returning and deputy returning officers for all SU elections, SU election plan and general election hustings events hosted by the SU, support and approval of the SU's COVID-19 lockdown operations and plans, regular reports from the President outlining sabbatical and elected officer activity, approval of any updates to the SU's risk register. Motions from Student Council that the trustees have approved. Complete a demographic review of the Student Council, President to complete a restructure, the SU to lobby the institution for a safety net, moving the main elections to April, the SU to lobby the university to increase the diversity of vegan food available on campus and to advertise it more effectively, the creation of a third sabbatical officer focused on representing clubs and societies, restructure of Student Council, allow clubs and societies to avoid folding in the event that they have no members, approve the bylaw changes in regulation to the council restructure. Trustee topics brought to the trustee meeting. Review of the SU structure. It has been a very challenging year for the Students' Union. Working through the continued pandemic has meant that the SU has had to have been very adaptable and flexible to still be able to continue providing a service to the students. Despite the challenges, the SU team still kept the SU building open and worked in bubbles to minimise any risk. Despite all the challenges, we were pleased to be able to increase our percentage score over the sector average in the SU National Student Survey question. BGSU scored 6.06% above the sector average, which is an incredible achievement considering our size and resources when we compare ourselves to all the SUs in our sector.
If anybody has any questions about what was presented in Abraham's report, I know obviously he's not here tonight, but myself, Abby, Erin and Joe are all trustees. I know Joe you started being a trustee this year. I don't mind clarifying that with you, and yeah. Jordan was also a trustee, so there's plenty of people who would know maybe an answer to your question. So if you have any, let us know. If you think of one later, you can always email us in, or yeah, just because he's not here, make sure that you still ask them. Yeah.
This one's including the safety net. I forgot what I was going to say. With the extensions, because I know a lot of students, including myself and my course, took a lot of extensions due to rehearsal schedules and everything else. What would be the fairest would the safety net covers the extensions throughout our theory work that students are misbehinding or something? Sorry.
So is that what does the safety net kind of cover?
Cover the extensions on written work and everything. I don't know if that's linking to it. If not, I don't know. I might be thinking of something things.
That's okay. I can take that, or if Erin wanted to, that's also not a problem, but I'm happy to.
Yeah, I can take that. So the safety net that we worked to get in place for the last academic year, it was not the same as the safety net that you had in the academic year before. So it wasn't to do with your grades, it was a set of mitigating factors that would help you, such as easier extensions, so that was included. So the extensions that you took, what you got in your results will be your results in the end, if that was your question.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. Thank you.
No worries.
Yeah, anybody else got anything they wanted to ask about your own support, or what the trustees do, or anything like that? No? We good to move on? Nice. And then I think the next one is from Abby.
Hello everybody, I'm here to give you a financial overview of the Students' Union for last year. The accountant hasn't come back with the final ratified figures, so these are just an indication. However, they get logged with the Charity Commission and they're available to members of the public online, and just go to the Charity Commission, so they should be done within a couple of weeks. So unfortunately they just couldn't be done in time for today, which is unfortunate, but what the figures I'm going to give you are a really good indication. Accountants like to move things around a little bit, but I think the bottom line will pretty much be near or thereabouts. So basically our complete income for last academic year was £157,747.41. The bulk of that has come from capitation funding from the university. We get an amount per head per student. We also generate some of our own income, although our means to do this is relatively limited, but we did generate some extra income through merchandise, that's selling things like hoodies and mugs and pens, when we did meal deal and sponsorship, and some of our activities as well. Unfortunately, there was no freshers income because we couldn't have a freshers that year. And our expenditure, our biggest expenditure is staff. So from that income of 157,000, or just over 124,000 of that was on staff. And then the rest of the non-pay expenditure has to cover things for us to be able to operate, such as insurance, security, affiliation to NUS, marketing and printing budget, training, corporate clothing, telephones, stationery, accountants' fees, year-end fees for the accountancy, and also online platform fees. So, and then we also have to pay out some money to make money, so the cost of the hoodies and the pens and the cups and the things and the meal deal items that we had to pay. So at the year end, our non-pay expenditure was just over 36,500. So at the end of the year, we are in a negative situation. So normally we would like to make a profit, so that can go into reserves or into funding certain projects, but we haven't. We have a deficit at the year end in the region of £3,500. Points to note are that we made savings through the government's furlough scheme, so we were able to furlough some staff members, and we also made a redundancy which saved some money. So in total we did save just over £7,000. So had we not done those two things, our deficit would have been well over £10,000. So that's just a very brief overview, but the full accounts will be published and are available in the public domain, but I'm happy to answer any questions anyone's got. No, I don't think there's any questions. Have you got any questions, Kaylee? No?
I don't think I do.
All right then, I'll leave it there then. Okay, thank you.
I know it's so good. And then we've got Rob coming to speak to us.
Welcome. Thank you very much for inviting me this evening to speak with you. What I want to do is just introduce something that we've been working on tail end of last year and over the summer. Been working with Abby and also Erin in the Students' Union on this, and it's something that we want to continue. And I just really want to outline what this project is. So as it says up there, the Office for Students, which is the sort of governing body for universities, working for students and holding universities to account, have created what I'm calling a statement of expectation. So some principles that they expect universities, HE providers to operate to in terms of preventing and addressing harassment and sexual misconduct. So obviously at BGU, we obviously want to make sure our environment is as safe as possible. So we, like all other universities, are having to look at how we do that and how we're going to address the 7 principles. Now, those principles are up there. I've edited them slightly, but you can go to the OFS website and actually look at those principles, and also there's much more detailed information about what they expect universities to be doing. So we've created a working group. Say Erin and Abby have been on that group amongst with others from the university to look at those principles and I guess test ourselves against those principles in terms of how we're achieving these expectations. As it says there, things like communicate and embed across the organisation approaches to prevent harassment and sexual misconduct, make sure our governing body, our university council, is aware of and ensures that those measures are adequate, to engage with students about the policies and strategies and approaches that we're taking and how we can refine those, to implement training and raising awareness across the university, both for staff and students, to ensure that policies are adequate and in place that can allow students and also staff to report or disclose incidents. We should be fair and clear about how we can provide access or accessible in our approach in terms of allow to take action if something is reported to us and somebody wishes to disclose to us and provide evidence and also their names so we can pursue cases. And also that we support students and also staff. If it's a staff making a disclosure, we support people through an investigatory process, because this would then very much link into our disciplinary processes, either for staff, if it's a member of staff who's being accused, or for a student, disciplinary process for a student, if it was a student that's being accused of such conduct. So those are the sort of 7 principles. So if you want to go to the OFS's website and put in statement of expectation for addressing harassment and sexual misconduct, much more information in terms of what those principles mean and what we need to be doing on that. So far, so these are some of the things that we've been doing. So far we've revised our policy on bullying, harassment and sexual misconduct. That has gone through our various committees where there is representation by the student with the student body, and this sets out our expectations of how people should behave, how that will then inappropriate behaviour will be linked to our disciplinary procedures, and what are those processes that we take people through. We've created a new web page which provides for staff and students, provides one location to find out about the policies, about things like safeguarding, what is appropriate behaviour, the support that you can be provided, and also the procedures that we would take people through a disciplinary procedure. So those are now all on one website. If you look on the student portal, there's now a new little grey box called safeguarding with like a shield on it, and that will take you to the web page. From January 22, so after Christmas, we want to introduce a new app which will actually provide students and staff with the ability to report or disclose an incident, and also will allow anonymous reporting as well, so that we can understand whether we've got what is sort of if there's an undercurrent or an issue which is building within the university. And also we want to work with students to fulfil some more of those principles I talked about, which is about raising awareness, and also how we review the policies to make sure they're effective and actually are supportive of students. That's all I've got to say. 1 minute. Do you want to vote?
Yeah. Can we vote to allow Rob a little bit more time?
Thank you very much. Just 1 more minute. So we're doing this. Oh, sorry, that's okay. So I'm just introducing this tonight as essentially a soft launch. We'll be doing a bigger launch in the new year, and say with the provision of the app, which will really help the reporting and also the support for people. If you've got any feedback or views, I mean, clearly we don't want to hear necessarily any personal accounts or anything, but any thoughts, if you have a look at the website, how we've presented it, some of the policies and that, if you want to take time and look at that, and if you've got any views on that, either report back through Abby and Erin, who are part of the working group, or if you want to, you can go to the Tell Us webpage that Kelt operate. That's not anonymous, you have to put your B number in, so it is about providing thoughts and views on the policies and so on. And in the spring, the Student Forum event will be dedicating to looking at those, how we can enhance those policies and processes as well. So we're hoping plenty of opportunity for people to engage in this. And so we'll be launching things in January in the new year to cover this more fully. Of course, if any individual does need any specific support, then you can speak to student advice, you can speak to the Students' Union, you can turn to chaplaincy, or you can speak to your tutor and they will signpost you and help you and support you in such, if you want to disclose anything. That's it.
Thank you.
Any questions? That was unexpected. Thank you very much. I was going to say.
Not that the finances are.
Oh, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, any questions for Rob?
So this is mainly through the bullying procedures for against any students. What are the procedures like are against bullying or sexual harassment?
So, okay, so this covers, I mean, and also we've had to provide quite clear definitions of what bullying is, what harassment is, and sexual misconduct. So on that series of web pages, it provides clear definitions of what those are. It then indicates the sorts of things that those might be, and also then how you might go about reporting that. And if you do report that, how we would then sort of support you in that. One of the things that we're instituting is called an interim panel. So a group of colleagues would look at the evidence that's come through and make a determination of what support they can provide both to the person reporting the incident and also perhaps the person as well who is the person that is being alleged to have had inadequate behaviour. And obviously then at that point the panel would then refer that to disciplinary processes, might consider whether it might be appropriate to perhaps suspend temporarily the person who's being accused of inappropriate conduct. So we'd look at a case-by-case basis, and then the panel would make a ruling and put the support mechanisms in and decide how we would then process that through our disciplinary procedures.
That's beautiful. Thank you very much.
So it is, if you click on that grey tile, the shield, it does open up a series of web pages and provides you with the information.
In regards to investigations to whether it's sexual misconduct, or how long will the general procedure be?
So in our disciplinary procedures, we've got a set of timelines and timeframes. Clearly, depending upon the nature of the incident, we might have to act really quite quickly, especially if we consider there's an ongoing threat to somebody, and deal with it quite quickly. We would start our investigatory procedures, and usually, depending upon the nature, how quickly those would need to be taken through. The one issue that might prolong it is if actually it's criminal behaviour, and then if that's then reported to the police, we would then essentially have to suspend our investigation to allow the police to investigate, so we didn't prejudice any case, and then we would, depending upon the outcome of that, we would then sort of re-engage our disciplinary processes. So it's quite difficult to say, but we would obviously be mindful of trying to complete it both for the person who is alleging the incident and also the person perhaps who is being accused of that. We would want to deal with that as quickly as possible.
And again, what happens if events happened outside of uni? So if there's an alleged bullying incident happen on any of the accommodation that are off campus, such as Park Court and Gainsgate, and there's some bullying bullying or sexual harassment claims, if it's by another BG student, would you still do the investigations during outside of campuses of like Danesgate and Park Court?
Yeah, okay, so it's not just contained to the campus. Obviously, we have public visitors on campus. So if there's an incident where a member of the public alleged against a student or a member of staff, or alternatively, a student or a member of staff makes allegations about a visiting person, public who's visiting the campus, then obviously there would be an investigation as well. Clearly, if it's a member of public, then it'd be obviously things like taking that to the police to further. If it's students associated with BGU off the campus, again, that could be reported and that would then be investigated as well.
That's brilliant, because there are students. I live in accommodation in Danesgate, and I've got a couple of BG students who might see this, maybe wondering if this resulting in their accommodations are outside of campus, like Danesgate and Park Court as well.
Okay, so again, use the processes, speak to somebody, and then we'll investigate that.
Thank you.
Okay.
So one more question. Obviously the bullying is for cyberbullying as well as
Yep.
face-to-face bullying.
Yeah, so that is in the definition of bullying, harassment, and so on. So yes, it makes the point that it doesn't matter what the format, if you like, of that, then that would be investigated. Yeah.
Brilliant. No more questions?
So if you want to take a look and then say, if you want to give us feedback, then please contact either Students' Union team or go to the website and we can say what we want to do is get people's views and then discuss those and see how we can sort of provide support, how we can enhance the processes and so on. Okay.
Brilliant, thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. And then I think, yeah, I'm next. Well, no, see you later. Thank you. But yeah, I'm next with an AMR update. So it's going to be a very, very quick one from me because, so for those of you that don't know, the AMR stands for Annual Monitoring Report, and it's basically just kind of looking at how we've progressed over the year, what we've done well and how we want to kind of continue that progress moving forward, and basically looking at saying, did we do the things that we said we wanted to do, and are we performing as we should be, basically. And the reason this one's going to be really quick is because currently the AMR process has been postponed just by a little while. There's a lot of, so within the university, so it's not just the Students' Union who does an AMR, all of your courses will do one. Different services like help will do an AMR as well. And at the minute there's some development going on to do with the curriculum. So they've kind of said, well, while we're still working on that, obviously it doesn't make sense to fill in the AMR while we don't know what the results of that are going to be. But hopefully we should have that done relatively soon. And when it is, there will be an event called an AMR sign-off event, which is where you guys, hopefully, will come along, read some AMRs and basically sign them off and say, yeah, we think you've done what you said you're going to do, or, you've clearly not lied in this. But basically just approving it and, having a read through, confirming what you've read, and signing it off. We've not got an exact date on when that's going to be yet, but it will most likely be, I think, early December. So I can send out, if you're a course rep, I'll be sending out an update on when that'll be once we've got a date, and it would be really great if you could come along. If you're not a course rep, it would also be really great if you could come along. It's a really, really important event, and if you're a course rep, you'll have heard me say it so many times, but it is really important to basically making your time here what you want it to be, and making sure that your lecturers and academic staff and non-academic staff are doing what we say we're doing. But yeah, so please come along to the AMR sign-off event. More details to follow. Told you it'd be quick. And then we're on to policy lapses. So I wasn't actually sure which of us wanted to talk on this. I didn't know if you want. Do you want me to do it? Do you want to do it, Erin? Do you want me to do it? Okay. So from my understanding, Abby, are we voting to reapprove?
Yeah, just to say that those things happen, and if there's any more work that needs to be done on them or anything of that nature.
So the anti-spiking campaign, it happened. It was really good. We had a policy drawn up that basically said that we won't work with certain bars unless they've signed our anti-spiking agreement. So it kind of what it says on the tin, really. If they don't agree to do certain practices or operate in a way that means that they're going to be keeping their patrons safe from spiking and things like that, then we won't work with them. We've kept that promise, and I know Erin and Sarah have been working on continuing to work on, so it's been going on all this time, still really pushing the anti-spiking thing. It's obviously a really serious cause, and yeah, so it's been going on. It's going really well. Are we happy to say that that is the case, really? Yeah, can I see a show of hands, please? Brilliant. Yeah, thank you. And then baby changing facilities. A vote was passed to include more baby changing facilities around the university. From my understanding, we did lobby the university for more, didn't we?
Yes.
I'll be honest, I'm not a parent, so I've not really noticed them when they've been around, but I think we have had more, haven't we?
Yeah, there's some put in the venue.
Yes, some in the libraries in there as well.
Space in the Students' Union, but then in the adjacent building, there's some in there in the library, so it was something that was brought to the university's attention, and they did increase their facilities as a result. Yeah,
so brilliant. Are we happy to approve that? Show of hands again. Brilliant. And then the final one is the rep training bylaw edition. So again, if you're a course rep, you'll have known this one because you'll have heard me say it. But if you are a rep, so a course rep, or I think we had like service reps and stuff like that, basically, if you've not engaged in training within 6 weeks of the kind of proposed date of that training, there'll be action taken to kind of either get you to do that training or to look at maybe alternatives, because it's really important to have you all trained. I can say that I know at the minute it's definitely going on. We're keeping track of obviously who's been trained and obviously who needs to do training and when they need to do training. And I know that obviously in previous years the same thing happened. And as far as I'm aware, it's something that will be taken forward. But are we happy to approve that it is taken forward?
It's part of regular life in the Students' Union now, isn't it? Yeah.
Brilliant, thank you. And then we're on to reports. So, Erin, do you want to come and give us a read of your report?
I just had it open. Hello, everybody. I've lost my report. But basically, as an overview, it was a really difficult year last year, which I'm sure you're tired of hearing. It was my first year as president, though, so I didn't really know any different. So, but I had massive support from the team, and we still actually managed to achieve quite a lot in that year. So as you already heard, we lobbied the university to reinstate their safety net. Although we didn't get the exact result that we wanted, they still worked with us to put in mitigating factors. Loads of other things that we have worked on. So as I said in my report, Abby was already an ambassador for this company, but I became a young ambassador for Just Lincolnshire. And as a result of that, I've been able to work in unconscious bias training and hate crime training into the training for our exec. And hopefully I'll be pushing that out to the wider student public. I'm very sorry. I was also able to make good headway on my manifesto points that I was elected on. I'm proud to say that I've achieved all of them in one way or another.
So not slightly.
Oh, okay.
But it's back on now.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm really sorry. My report has gone off. Is there anything big that you think I need to talk about?
I can get your report up on my phone if you'd like it, maybe.
No, it's okay. I'll just leave it there. But yeah, if you guys have any questions about what I did last year, or if there's anything that you know that the SU did that you want to ask about that I haven't mentioned, please let me know. Again, I'm really sorry for not having my report up. It just disappeared.
It's saying the report's gone out to students anyway.
Yeah, you will have access to it in the paper file. I just couldn't get it up on my phone. So
Yeah, thank you.
no worries. Do I take? Oh, thanks. Don't think that deserves a clap. Do I take the questions? Or
Yeah.
anyone have any? Yes.
Due with the graduation being moved to online, will it happen again for this year? We'll move to online for this year.
Oh, no. So in July, there are going to be graduation celebrations and ceremonies for 2020 graduates, 2021 graduates, and 2022 graduates. So if you're a graduate in those cohorts that didn't get an in-person graduation, you will have received an email inviting you to them. So basically, they're not officially called graduation ceremonies because you have already legally graduated, but you will be able to get to go to the cathedral, wear a gown, step across the platform and get professional photos. It will be in July. But yeah, no, there won't be any virtual graduation this year. At least that's not what it's planned for. So, any other questions? No.
Okay, thank you. We've got a special guest. This is John. If you don't know him, he was our Vice President of Education, so me, last year. And he's here to read his report.
Hello. This is very weird. Didn't think I'd be back here again. So I was going to introduce myself, but Kaylee did it for me. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Jordan, the former Vice President of Education. As Erin said literally a minute ago, it was a very strange year last year at the SU. So COVID-19 had a massive effect on what we did. A lot of what we ended up doing was in reaction to the constant changes in the landscape of higher education and how we could support students through those. So, for example, Erin put through a motion proposal at Student Council to add extra support systems in vein similar to the safety net that we had the year beforehand, which meant that we were in meetings a lot with the senior management team, so Rob, who you just saw, and various other members of staff, to try and see what extra support systems we could get for students. I also did some work trying to encourage the accommodation team at the university and also various other renters to try and support students who were living in student accommodation to stop them from having to support them with their rent. The year also threw up some challenges with how we did our kind of general SU stuff. So Kaylee mentioned the AMR sign-off. That was obviously affected because we couldn't do anything in person. AGM was affected, Student Council was affected, and also the elections were affected. But we managed to work through those to accommodate the online format that we had to be put in. Finally, as it was my second year in role, my main aim for last year was to work on Student Council. I'd felt throughout my first year that Student Council wasn't as effective as it could have been, and as a result, I spent a lot of the year trying to figure out a format that I felt would best fit our students. So I had conversations with members of Student Council last year, former members of Student Council and just general students about how the format could change, along with talking to other members of other students' unions, looking and doing research into what they did. And I feel like I put through a motion that was hopefully effective. I have spoken to Kaylee and I've basically said that it should be reviewed over the course of the year, and any changes that you feel are necessary throughout the format should be made, because obviously it's Student Council, it's for the students. Has anyone got any questions? Cool.
Thank you. Mike's up next, but he's not in here, so do we you want me to read this out, or do you want to read this out? Yeah, I've got the email with them all on. So.
Yeah, that would be great. So I'm not great at reading.
That's
on a
okay.
small screen.
So I hope you all enjoy my really good mic impression. I've practiced it many times. So this, again, this is obviously Mike's, so for the Wellbeing and Inclusivity team. So throughout the previous year, the welfare team's activities were largely restricted to online events as a result of the university returning to remote learning in November of 2020. As a result, much of the planning the volunteers had done for in-person events could not be followed up on. Nevertheless, Mia was able to contribute to the university's celebration of Black History Month in October. Bryony attended multiple conferences on best practice within SUs. And throughout the year, Kaylee ensured that events hosted by the activities team incorporated wellbeing elements. In place of in-person events, much of our content was delivered via social media with a particular focus on mental health. We were also able to hold outdoor events as restrictions were relaxed. Throughout the year, the SU Food Bank also continued to operate. Food poverty is a pressing issue amongst students and the wider population, and we've been touched by the generosity of donations by BG students and staff. To conclude, I would like to thank the volunteers for all their hard work in the last year. Their time in the hub was under the most difficult circumstances and they excelled in their positions. And this concludes my impression of Mike. Thank you. But yeah, does anybody have any questions? As Mike mentioned, I was also part of the wellbeing team, so I can try and answer them. But again, if not, you can always send them in an email and we can formulate a very coherent response. No? And then you just get to hear me talk again, that's fine. This time I'm pretending to be Kieran Treacher. But yeah, so again, like with wellbeing, I was also in the activities team. I was the activities liaison to wellbeing, hence the two. Kieran Treacher was our key contributor, but unfortunately he's off doing his teacher training at the minute, so couldn't make it. So I've become him. So 2020 was a very different year for the activities team, with the events that we would normally host in person having to change drastically to comply with COVID restrictions. As well as this, the whole team was in their third year of their studies, which meant that juggling an event schedule with our academic work was at times incredibly difficult. But despite these circumstances, we managed to pull through and host plenty of successful events. In the 2020 to 21 academic year, the only in-person learning that took place was between September and November, so most of our events ended up being held online. We did, however, work to provide a week full of freshers events in September that, despite the circumstances, was largely successful. We had events such as an outdoor cinema, which proved very popular, and made the most of our newly renovated beer garden to accommodate as many students as possible, while still remaining compliant and conscious of the restrictions at the time. Re-entering lockdown and the subsequent move to online learning meant that we had to reevaluate our services and once again host our events online. We did unfortunately see a drop in engagement when this happened, but those that did come along to our online quiz and bingo sessions were very enthusiastic. Whilst the attendance numbers were slightly lower than we'd have liked, we were still glad to be able to host events that students were enjoying, and we received feedback from students that they appreciated us continuing to provide our social activities online during a time in which many students felt quite isolated. All in all, despite the difficulties presented by the pandemic, 2020 was a successful year for the activities team. I'd like to extend the biggest of thanks to Kieran Wiseman, our staff lead for last year, Emily, Kieran Treacher and Jess for all their hard work throughout the year. It definitely didn't go unnoticed. But yeah. Thank you. And then volunteering and engagement, Erin Bell. Have you got access to it or do you want me to get it up on my phone? Nice. But yeah, thank you.
So again, this was another one that was impacted by the pandemic, who knew? So basically the volunteering engagement hub housed 3 roles that were dedicated to clubs and societies. Because of the pandemic, a lot of our clubs and societies couldn't meet for the large majority of the year, which made a lot of these guys' remit redundant. However, they still tried their hardest. They tried to pour their efforts into other remits, general remits of being an exec officer. We also had the charity officer as a liaison in our hub, and we had a volunteer and engagement key contributor. The key contributor role was vacant for quite some time until the by-elections, I believe, when somebody from the activities team decided to change into the volunteer team and won that election. So although work was massively impacted by the pandemic, they still tried. Our charities officer still put on charity events. They did this via Facebook Live quizzes and things like that. So not massively as engaging as in person, but they did the best they could with the resources and facilities that we had. They also set up some great initiatives for EDAN links and Comic Relief. Our social liaison, their role was responsible for setting up socials for our clubs and societies. I know they tried their hardest, but it was very difficult to get these people to meet when they couldn't even meet to play on the pitches of the societies that they wanted to be a part of. But I am very grateful for all of their hard work and their optimism throughout a really tough year. It didn't go unnoticed, as Kieran Chucha said, and yeah, they were massively helpful in the other areas of their roles, which weren't specific to their job titles. And I'm going to stop rambling.
I think that is us nearly done. The final slide is AOB and matters arising. So does anybody have any other business or any matters arising? Ben?
I was going to say, on the report that you just read for the, I think it was the activities one, it said that there was a freshers event till last year, but when I did the finances, you said there wasn't, so it was a bit...
It was a very different freshers event, which I think might have been...
It would be freshers events that didn't cost any money, like online quizzes and that sort of thing, so there's no expenditure on freshers events, yeah.
Going for the events, do you know where there's a person where we could advise an event, like request an event to happen for the SU? Or?
Yes, so that would be Josh, who's our events officer. I always forget the titles, but yeah. So if you just pop him a message, he should be able to work with you and help you get what you want him.
Thank you.
It's all good.